All right. Thank you, guys. Sorry I was late.
I had to piss out in the loading dock. Thanks, Bill.
So let's begin this conversation. Let's go way back. I want to know about your beginnings in becoming a stuntman. Were you always wanting to be a stuntman? Did you fall into it? No pun intended.
Oh,
Tell me about your journey.
I did, when I was in my second year of college, majoring in geography, I got hit with the idea of becoming a stuntman. I didn't know anyone, I didn't have any idea how to do it, but it was just something that I had to do. And I just thought, because I used to do crazy shit, I'm sure you guys have seen the documentary or heard stories, but I used to do crazy stuff to scare my friends. Dangerous things, hanging off balconies, doing crazy stuff, just because I thought it was funny to see their reaction. And then I realized, there's a profession that people get paid very well for doing that exact thing. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna look into it. And incredibly hard business to break into, but I started the process. I never got my degree, which I kind of feel like I quit on something because I never got my degree, but it wouldn't have mattered at this point. But the point is, I usually don't quit on anything, and I did on my education, so I'll always kind of regret that, but I just thought this is the perfect job for me because I still, to this day, have never broken a bone, and I've been doing stunts for 47 years and played sports as a kid my whole life. Never broke a bone. Not many people can say that, especially stunt people. Not many people can say it. So I loved every time I worked, and at the beginning it was like hardly ever. I would hardly ever did a job. But if I did and worked for a couple days, I just loved it and could not wait for the next job. And you've also heard me talk about the fact that stunts is harder to break into than acting because there's no auditioning process. If you want to be an actor, you might be able to go on auditions and somehow get lucky and get the part. There's no auditioning for stunts. You're hired by a stunt coordinator that knows your abilities. How do you impress a stunt coordinator when you can't get work? So it takes forever, and then you add in the burn injury right at the beginning of my career, which delayed everything. But even after that, I was like, I'm still going back to it. I just love it so much. And then the horror stuff happened and it just changed everything. I did a panel recently in, where was it? Atlanta. It wasn't that day, sorry.
No.
But
No, sir.
there are 3 directors in my career that have had equal impact on my career. First one is obviously John Binkler, who made me Jason, insisted to Paramount Pictures that I play the character, even when he was confronted with, we've never heard of him. And he was like, you've got to trust me. This is the guy that should play Jason. They finally gave in to him, and based on that performance, I did 3 more movies. So I have to think he was correct. But he made my career go from stunts to playing a character that's known around the world. Before I ever did it, so, fucking doofy's in the room. Motherfucking doofy. That is amazing. Oh, that is fantastic. Look at that. It's like 3 times the size of Jared, by the way. Can we see it again? Oh my God. No posting that. That is amazing. Oh, hey, did you hear what he said in the hat? He said, nice bush.
I got something for you.
What is it?
What is that?
What is it?
It's mints. Come look at it. Come look at it. It's mints?
Is it like
Mints.
testicle mints?
What is it?
What is it? Teeny weeny mints! That was going to apply to me, honey.
One more time, please. That is just amazing. Wow.
I knew he'd love it.
Oh,
Me and my penis have a date.
nice.
You left some of your bush on my stage.
It's all for you, my love.
I got a souvenir.
Keep it there. That's all yours. Put it on eBay.
She's shedding.
Come on, guys.
Wow. That made my night. Forgot what I was saying now.
Me too.
What was I in the middle of? Not that you're paying attention because you're on your phone. But... Oh, yes. Right, sorry. 3 directors, correct. John Biegler for making me Jason. Then there was a director named Mike Pfeiffer who thought that I could play horrible characters with dialogue that existed. So I played Ed Gein for him, BTK. I was in the Bundy movie, all for Mike Pfeiffer, who wrote and directed all of those. So he changed my career to people had the impression that I was just a silent guy wearing a mask killing people. Then he started giving me dialogue and playing characters like that. And then the third one being Adam Green, who gave me another character an iconic horror character to play. And that was amazing because nobody had done that character before. So it was kind of all mine. Between Adam Green and myself, we developed the character. And so those 3 guys are, I'll always feel indebted to because they helped advance my career in different ways.
And going back to Hatchet, your role of Papa Crawley, you out of makeup, was amazing. You really were an amazing actor. It was an amazing performance. How did you pull that out?
Well, actually, when Adam asked me to play this character in the movie, and I've heard this kind of thing throughout the years quite a few times. I have a new iconic character that I want you to play, and then it never happens. But with Adam, he made it happen. And I said, okay, I'd like to play this character, but I'd like you to write a scene in where I can show some emotion. That was never even in the script in the beginning, the scene of me as Victor's father. And I just wanted to show another side because this is kind of before Pfeiffer was able to give me some of those roles. And something that my son and I were just talking about it. My oldest son, Jace, and I kind of forgot about this, and so did he, because he was quite much younger when we did the first Hatchet. When you hear Victor yelling or moaning "Daddy" out in the swamp, it's actually my voice and my son Jace's voice mixed, so that there was a kind of a childish angle to the character. So it's kind of cool that he is in the movie and then is also part of Victor's voice. So. And my other son Reed was in Ed Gein with me, and he's like, I don't know, he must have been like 7 or something, talking about going out to catch frogs. If you ever watch the movie again and you see the little kid talking about catching frogs with somebody, that's my other son. So kind of fun to, because obviously we named our oldest son Jace in part due to the Jason character, but also my dad's name was James, so we thought it was kind of a good combination of names to name him Jace.
A nice hybrid.
Yeah.
Do we have any audience questions? Yes?
So, out of all of the iconic Jason scenes with him killing something, one of the more iconic ones for me is the sleeping bag scene in New Blood.
Oh, yeah.
What's your favorite out of all?
That one?
Yeah.
have-
I think we're having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. I have quite a few favorite kills as Jason, but sleeping bag is number 1. Number 2 is Frozen Head. Jason X.
That was awesome.
Because I'm probably tired of hearing me talk about it, but if you watch Jason X again, when I put her head into the liquid nitrogen, whatever, I don't even think that's possible, but I put her head in there and freeze it. You see her face freeze. Then I pull it up, and my favorite part of the scene is that I look at her before I smash her face. So I pull it up and I go, BAM! And I just think that's such a cool character thing, admiring his work. And then number 3 being punching the guy's head off. There's a lot of other good ones, but I think even above Sleeping Bag is, from the first Hatchet movie, is Mrs. Permadia, if you remember that kill, where the older woman tries to run away, and I'm like, I don't think so. And I catch her and rip her fucking head apart by her thumb.
You know, I have to say, every time you bring it up, shout out to the wonderful Patrika Darbo, who is amazing in that movie and amazing in that scene and adores you.
Right, and with Patrika, you have to remember, obviously when I pull her head apart, it's a prosthetic head. But leading up to that, I had to catch Patrika from behind and put my ratty ass fucking filthy hands in her mouth so that we could set up the pulling of the prosthetic head apart. So I always admired the fact that she was like, yeah, go ahead, I don't care. Really? My hands are filthy and muddy, I don't care. Just do it, so it'll look good. And that's why I love that kill. There's so many kills there. You know, I was thinking about it recently, the sleeping bag kill. If you watch that scene again, you can tell when I cut the tent, which, by the way, look at the movie again sometime, and look at, there's an establishing shot of the tent, and then when I cut through the tent and grab the girl, it's a completely different tent. It's not even anywhere near the same shape, but nobody notices because I'm about to do something terrible. And so I cut through the tent, I stuffed the actress into the sleeping bag, and there's a cut. Then there's a person in the sleeping bag while I'm dragging it out to the tree. And I can't think of her name right now, sorry. No, she was makeup assistant.
Really?
She helped with my prosthetic makeup for the character. And Beekler said, "Do you mind getting in the sleeping bag and letting it drag you?" So that's why you can tell when I'm dragging the sleeping bag, she's kicking.
Yeah.
So you can see that there's really somebody in there until I get to the tree and swing the dummy. But I think she should do conventions. I mean,
Right? Oh my gosh, totally.
there's so many people that did small things in some of these movies that do conventions. And like, where was I? Somewhere, probably, I assume New York, doing a convention. And remember the iconic scene in Times Square where I kicked the radio? One of those guys came up to my table and said, "Wait a minute, that's not you." He said, "Yep." He was one of the 4 guys that, were badasses. He wasn't the guy that flipped the knife and had the dialogue, but he was right behind him, and it was cool to see him again.
Wow.
Yeah, so,
That's neat.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that have, done one shot in one of the movies as one of these iconic characters, and they do conventions now. So I guess I should have Leatherface pictures on my table because I stunt doubled already in part 3 as Leatherface and did the game, of course. I guess you guys know that I did Leatherface in the video game that's out. But yeah, I mean, anyone that's ever done a shot as one of the characters is starting to do conventions now. So it's kind of fun for fans, to get everyone involved. Because I've talked about it before. Ken Kersinger got the part of Jason in Freddy vs. Jason when I was kicked out. But he was also in Jason Takes Manhattan. And he plays the cook in the diner that I throw into the mirror. That's Kersinger. And he also, there was a scene where they insisted that I don't do the shot where the cop car hits Jason. I don't know if you remember the scene, but it's in the alley and Jason's standing there and the cop car hits him and he does the car hit, we call it, which I've done many times, but Paramount insisted that I don't do that stunt because if I caught my knee or busted my leg or something, because that can happen with that kind of stunt. It's not easy to do it. They made me let Ken do it. And I don't know, maybe that's part of the reason that he was cast later, because he did one shot as Jason in part 8, but you can tell the way he's standing, it's not me. Before that cop car hits him, you can tell the stance is different. Just like, also, when the movie came out, there was a trailer that was exhibited everywhere where there's somebody standing looking at the New York skyline. And there's music playing and a slow camera move in, and then the person turns around and you see it's Jason. It's to promote that movie. But they did it, and I don't even know who did that shot. And he'll probably end up doing a convention, but the way he turns around is, I mean, I don't mean to talk shit about somebody else, but he turns around and it doesn't look threatening. He just turns around and goes, and when I saw it,
That
I
was so
said,
jazz.
try to at least replicate the performance, because that's what I did when I did the video game for Chainsaw. I tried to replicate Gunner's performance in the first movie because he was by far the best Leatherface. And R.A. is a good friend of mine, but Gunner was unbelievable. And until you try to do the chainsaw dance that Gunner did in the middle of the road with a real chainsaw, you don't realize how fucking hard that is to do. Chainsaw above your head, dancing around, and it was very hard to replicate. So, so I was saying, I guess I could have pictures on my table of me as Leatherface, because there's quite a few of them. In fact, I was just talking about it recently. I mentioned this before in interviews, but I was talking about the fact that I'm actually in Freddy versus Jason.
Does anyone know what he did in Freddy vs. Jason? Yeah?
Well, that's Jason Go to Hell. That's the Freddy hand coming up and grabbing the mask. Yes, that was my hand wearing the Freddy glove. So I did one shot as Freddy, but I don't have Freddy pictures on the table. But the Freddy versus Jason shot is there's a TV that's showing Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, and there's a scene of Leatherface. I forget what it is, but Leatherface is doing something to someone on the TV, and that's me. It's not RA, and I think he fucking got paid for it. Because when they use a scene from a previous movie in a new movie, you get paid for it. Like in Scream 6, there's a scene of me as Jason on the boat, killing the girl in the bathroom. So they had to pay me for it to be able to use it. But I think RA got paid. I could have talked to him about that. There was some money. Wasn't even him.
Favorite stunt in Jason Takes Manhattan? Oh,
In Jason Takes Manhattan, it wasn't like Part 7 where I had so many stunts to do. Part 8 was fairly easy as far as stunts go. I mean, it's never easy playing the character because it's so uncomfortable and everything, but I don't really, nothing comes to mind from that movie that was a difficult stunt. You know, like Part 7 with the fire stunt and falling through the stairs and the roof coming down on my head, and so many things. But Part 8 not only was a little easier physically, but also under the hockey mask, because it never came off. You never saw it come off, other than when I turned around after kicking the radio and lifted it. Nobody saw what looked like the face underneath until the very end. So it was an easy makeup. Part 7, I was in makeup for 3.5 hours every day before starting to shoot. Hour and a half to take it off. Makes for some long days, but Part 8, it was just a cowl, they call it. My face was open. So it was a lot easier to eat and drink and everything. And so not anything really that difficult in that movie.
And favorite stunt? She's a favorite and most difficult.
Favorite being the fire stunt.
Oh, the fire.
Because, you know, this is a stunt that almost killed me, literally, when I got burned in 1977, and then in 88, we're doing Friday the 13th, Part 7, and Beekler says, I'd like you to be on fire as Jason. I said, great. I mean, I never hesitated, even though it was a low point in my life, obviously getting injured like that, but it never made me think I shouldn't do fire anymore. So, not real smart.
The circumstances were different, too. Have you guys seen Kane's documentary? Yeah, isn't it amazing? I would love to know how that came about, how you were approached, or was it your idea?
No, it was not my
Because
idea.
it was a wonderful doc. It really is one of my favorites.
Right, Mike Aloisi approached me years ago and said, I think you have an interesting story, I'd like to write a book called Unmasked, which I thought was a very clever title. And it did well, and then 10 years later we did an updated version, because if you ever read Unmasked, there's a couple people that I wanted involved in the book that did not want to talk about it. And those two people are the woman that was with me taking pictures when I got burned, and the woman whose house we went to wait for the ambulance after I got burned. Those two people never wanted to talk about it when we wrote the first book. So when we were able, and Mike, I guess, did it mainly, he was able to convince them, just tell your side, that's all. Doesn't have to be flattering, just tell your side of that day. And they both did, so that's when we came out with the 10th anniversary edition of the book called Kill. Then, based on that book, Derek Dennis Herbert, filmmaker, said, I want to do your story in a visual way, and hence the documentary. So I never thought anybody would really care about any of that. But, you know, I've watched some documentaries about people that I knew got through some difficult situations, and I was myself intrigued to see their story. So I understood that maybe some people would want to hear it. So that's why we did it. And very happy with the book and the documentary. You know, it's not all fun stuff and easy stuff to listen to, but, you know, everybody has tough parts of their lives.
Yeah, because of that, I think you actually made a difference to someone who might have been struggling with something, and they saw that or read it, and they're like, man, it might have been in a similar situation, you know, of an injury or a deformity, and man, okay. Because you're also very vulnerable in the documentary in one scene, and you're like, man, I was angry, I was really angry. And
Yeah, I mean, because when you play characters like I do, and somebody says, I want to do a documentary about you or tell your story, sometimes I think, man, I don't know if I should tell all the stuff that makes me sound, not weaker, but makes me sound less, I guess, I don't know how to say it, but, you know, you wonder if that would hurt your image possibly, because, you know, I play characters that are not very friendly and quite intimidating. So, you know, it did cross my mind, do I really want to talk about that stuff? And then, of course, once I did, that gets the best reaction of the entire story, is when people say, wow, he's been through some shit that I have experienced. And then it makes it more relatable and stuff, so. Yeah.
do we have any other audience questions? Let's go over here.
What was your best prank scare on set?
Oh man, there's so many of them.
Any specific set?
You know, you guys know, sorry about the language, but I fuck with people on the set all the time. And I love playing pranks, and Felissa and I were talking about this recently on Victor Crowley, where she talked about the fact that when I play a character like Victor or Jason or something, I get into it pretty seriously because I think it helps the performance. Now, I'm not going to hurt you on purpose because of that, because there are actors like that you do a fight scene with them and they hurt you on purpose because they think it'll look good on film. And, you know, I've had that experience myself, and I, you know, once again, don't want to mention names, Steven Seagal, because I think but, you know, I'll do stuff because when you're it's very exhausting. I don't know, because you're doing physical stuff, you're in makeup where you can barely breathe, you can't drink anything hardly because you have dentures, you can't eat, and you get cranky. So, before a violent scene where I'm supposed to kill an actor, I'll typically go off to the side and do some psyching up things, like yelling and screaming and listening to heavy metal and stuff like that, and I'll do that shit just to get my energy up. But I also do it because I know that the actor I'm about to kill is watching me. And they're saying, he's about to kill me, and he's fucking punching a tree and banging his head on the wall. And then their scene is coming up. So I will do more of that just to entertain myself, knowing that it's fucking with their mind. And they've said after the fact that it helped their performance, because they're like, this guy's fucking crazy for real. So, I will do that for my entertainment and for just to mess with them. And Felissa said exactly that. She was like, you remember what I did to Felissa, right? Victor Crowley. She tried to call for help on her cell phone. And so I ripped her arm off that was holding the phone. And I jammed it up her lower region so hard that her hand came out of her mouth still holding the phone.
And the phone is still working, by
And the phone is still working. 911, what's your emergency? And Adam Green has that, her prosthetic head with her arm hanging out of her mouth in his office. But, so, that kind of stuff just helps break the monotony and makes it more fun for me. And if I can screw with somebody's mind at the same time, even better.
I saw someone over here. Yes, friend?
When you did the 13th Fanboy, when you wrote the script, were you upset that you got told off to see if they got picked to color mask?
Oh no, not at all. 13 Fanboy. I play myself in it.
Yeah.
As the guy that played Jason, basically, kind of. And I wanted to do that movie because they had, as much as Beekler gave me a little emotional scene in Friday, Adam gave me, not Adam, 13 Fanboy gave me an entire dying scene where I could be totally emotional. I don't know if you've seen the movie. I'm really happy with the outcome of it. And the fact that the killer tries to kill me because I played Jason, basically. And I'm dying, and I'm laying in the arms of a woman and talking and having a big emotional crying scene. And the woman is, she played Jennifer Banco is the actress. She played young Tina in Part 7 as a little girl. And now she's obviously an adult and I'm dying in her arms. I thought that was such a cool, bringing it full circle type of thing. And because I had done Chainsaw 3 with her also. And it was just fun to do an emotional scene like that because every actor wants to show another side of what they're known for. If they're a comedian, they want to do something dramatic, and vice versa. So I was happy to do the movie. I really like it, and there's a new one that came out recently called The Activated Man. And it's really Tony Todd's movie, but I play a pretty major supporting character in the movie, and it was instrumental in my career because it was the most dialogue I've ever had in film. And, you know, I guess most actors are used to this, but to have a 4.5-minute dialogue scene with one other actor, just back and forth, 4.5 minutes, that is really long in a film. Just one scene of he and I talking back and forth to each other. It was such a great challenge to have that much dialogue. It wasn't all that emotional, but it was important to the story. And I think, you know, fortunately I won a couple of awards at film festivals for the performance and the ensemble cast and stuff. But it's, take a look at it. It's an interesting movie. It's not, you know, so many of the movies we do are kind of mindless and simplistic and you don't have to really think about it. But this one, you really have to pay attention to what's going on. And it's far more intelligent than most of the stuff I do. But I'm very happy with that movie.
And that was out now?
Yeah. I'm not sure where you can find it, but it's just called The Activated Man.
Yes.
For Jason Goes to Hell, I was wondering, did you guys go any scenes with him unmasked? Because I know it was on the even behind the scenes, half skeleton, half whatever. I was just wondering if you guys filmed any scenes.
I mean, I think there was some footage of me with the hockey mask off, but not in the film. But there is some footage that, you know, the director of photography or whatever shot, because it was weird to see me without the hockey mask on, because that was the makeup where the hockey mask is kind of absorbed into the face, into the tissue in a way, which by far the most difficult movie I've ever done physically was that one. And I wasn't even Jason for that many days, but it was so uncomfortable. And the fact that that's the only time I ever did a Friday movie where I couldn't take the hockey mask off and breathe and drink and eat. It was embedded into the makeup. So I never could take it off. Maybe they would take it off once each day, but it was a process to get it out of the makeup. So it was a strange look of mostly my face, but then the eye was covered and stuff, so it still looked weird. And I think maybe Kane and me or somebody, maybe Kurtzman, has photos of me without the hockey mask on, but I don't even have those. So yeah, it looked weird and kind of creepy. I think they maybe kind of should have used it, but it was just so hot in that makeup and stuff. I get Nick Taro shit all the time about it, that it was so hard to work in. But yeah, it was an interesting film, but I didn't think that, for me as a Friday fan, I didn't think there was enough Jason in it. You know, Jason goes into other bodies and other characters and stuff, which is interesting, but I think it should have been more of the classic that we're used to with the hockey mask and stuff. And you've probably heard me talk about this too. I'm sorry if I'm repeating stories, but when we first started the film, I knew that other characters in the movie were going to be technically Jason. They were going to have that energy within them. And I talked to several of them and said, I think it would be cool if during your performance as Jason, if you had some kind of something I'm known for, some kind of move, not necessarily a breathing thing or whatever, but if you could incorporate something that would say to the audience, oh, that's still Jason, because look what he did. Even though it looks like a different person, he did something that Kane does as the character. And I talked to several of the actors, and one in particular, I said, you know, you have an opportunity to do something that's reminiscent of my portrayal. I think would be fun for the audience. And he said, nah, my Jason wouldn't do that. Your Jason. You motherfucker. Your Jason wouldn't do that. But, you know, that's how actors are sometimes. They're playing a character, they don't want input from other people, which I kind of understand, but I think this was a little different. I wasn't telling them how to act, really. I just thought a little nod would be cool for the audience, but nobody wanted to do it, so.
There's actually a scene I wanted to ask you about from BTK.
Oh, wow.
So it actually affected me a little emotionally watching it, and I was wondering where you drew the emotion from. And it kind of messed me up with my daddy issues. It's where the girl you're about to kill, you see images of your daughter, and you end up carrying her around the apartment like daddy's here, daddy's here. That messed me up. It was very emotional. Where did you draw that from? Was it from being a dad? What was it?
It was partially from that, exactly, from being a dad. I do not have any daughters, but I have 2 sons. But just being a dad, I kind of kept that in mind, and honestly, it was more Mike Pfeiffer with his input, because, you know, it's one thing to play a character like Jason or Victor that didn't exist. When you played somebody in a movie that did exist and did this shit, that's
Pretty intense.
very intense. And I look at pictures of me as Dennis Rader, and it's like creepy, man, because, you know, with the glasses, and I wish the only regret I have about doing BTK is that I should have shaved my head, because he had no hair on top.
You rocked the wrist.
Right. So I wish I had the balls to go that dedicated into the character and shave my head, because he had hair on the sides. But besides that, with the mustache and the glasses, I looked a lot like him.
You did.
And it was just amazing to play a character that existed. Ed Gein, even. You know, he didn't really kill people. He did weird shit with their bodies. But that was the first time that I ever did a movie where I showed my scars from the burn injury. And that was all Pfeiffer saying, you know, it might be interesting if we show your scars, even though Ed Gein wasn't burned. He thought it would kind of enhance the character, and I agree with him. And, you know, the scars are kind of scary looking. I mean, I'm 50% scarred forever. And he was like, why don't we use it instead of hiding it? I was like, wow, nobody ever said that to me. So that's why we did. But that scene, yeah, I drew from, you know, what you're saying, and then with his input, and he, you know, he did Ed Gein, he did Bundy, he did BTK, and he just did a Gacy movie, I believe, which I said, man, why didn't you let me play Gacy? That would have been amazing, because, you know, he's probably one of the scariest humans that ever lived. There's a lot of crazy people out there, but Gacy, man. And going off on a tangent here, one of my prized possessions from my career, one of my favorite things I own is I have friends in the Chicago area, guy's name is Elton, but it's spelled A-L-T-O-N, Alton. But his mom gave me a Polaroid of her when she was like 5 at a birthday party with fucking Pogo. Can you believe that? And I said, I looked at it and I saw Pogo and I said, and she goes, that's me. I said, what? And she gave it to me. So that's incredible to me, to be to somebody that was that close to a maniacal murderer and walked away. And so anyway.
So to wrap us up, I want to talk about Casualty Fridays. That's back.
Tiffany Shepis, Felissa Rose, and myself do a podcast called Casualty Friday. We just did 2 more episodes 2 days ago. And, you know, I've done movies with both of them, and we've been friends forever, and it's just such an easy thing to do. But take a listen. I think you'll enjoy it because we have so much fun. We have so much history. And it's just I never thought I'd do a podcast. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be. But we have a great time and we laugh through the whole thing. We have so many stories on the set. You know, other stories.
Questions as well.
Right. Oh yeah. And it's good. Take a look or I'll kill you. Not kidding.
Everyone, please give it up.
Thank you, guys.